Hi, knitting friends. This is Sheila Stromberg. This is my second video for my new cardigan. I haven't picked a name for it yet, so sorry. I'm still sick, if you guys can tell. But I'm almost done with this, so I just want to finish it up. Okay, so the yarn that I'm using on this is Roan Felted Tweed. The colorway is SH133, which is actually discontinued. But it's actually really, really lovely yarn. It's not very itchy. Well, so far, while I've been working on it. Hopefully it's not too itchy when I wear it. Okay, so I finished doing the main body of the cardigan, as you guys can see. And then here's this, the little detail that we have with the pleats. I seamed the yoke of the garment already to the back of the body here. You don't have to do that before doing this next step. I just hate having stuff like flapping open. So anyways, I'm going to show you guys the like lapel portion of this. So as you can see on the work, this is the main body, and then this is where the yoke, where the sleeve kind of meets like the yoke. And that's where we're going to be working this lapel across the front here. It's going to come up and around the back of the neck all the way around to the other front. So we're going to essentially, on both sides, on the left and the right side, we're going to begin work and then join it to the sides. And they're going to meet in the back, and then we're going to graft it with the Kitchener stitch at the center of the back. That's what this little marker is. And we can tell the center of the back easily by where your yarn tail is. So if you didn't leave a marker in it, don't worry about it. You can tell by where your yarn tail is. Okay, so to do this section, I hate seaming, so I try to avoid it in my patterns as much as possible. So instead of knitting this panel separately and then seaming it, I'm actually doing kind of a technique where we're going to kind of like join the work as we go. And this is actually kind of great because it makes it so that your work is going to be just the exact right size. You're not going to have to ease anything while you're stitching or any of that kind of crap that nobody likes to deal with. Okay, so you're going to need a circular needle that's at least one size smaller than what you have. So I'm working on a size 6 needle, and I think this is like a 2.5. It doesn't have to be that much smaller. It's easier, I find, for the smaller. I think it's just easier. So, okay, so this section to begin, I've already started this section a couple rows so you guys could see kind of what we're going for here with the joining section. So you guys are going to start down here where your stitches are going to be held like they are over on this. So when you were completing the last section, you should have held 15 stitches on this side, 15 stitches on this side, and then bound off all of the center. So what we're going to do is starting at the cast on side of the sleeve. If you recall, when we were working the yoke, we worked it from the center out all the way down to here. When we got to this point, we cast on these stitches here. And so that's going to be where we're picking stuff up. And then we worked that part flat and then joined it down here. Sorry, you can't see that. And we joined it here. So that's kind of the part that we're working on. I'll put a diagram in the pattern so you guys can know what I'm talking about. So I already picked up some of the stitches. For each cast on stitch, we're going to pick up one stitch. So every single cast on stitch, sorry, I have my little knitting bowl that I keep running my needles into, and it's making noise. But, okay, anyways, so here's what we're going to do. So I already began, it doesn't really matter what size you start picking up your stitches here on, because we're actually not going to be knitting them at this time, we're just picking them up. So if you've never done this before, it's actually a lot easier than it sounds. So, normally when you are picking up stitches, you work into it and then, pull the yarn through. We're not doing that. We're not carrying any yarn along. We're just going to pick up the stitch. So essentially all we do is, and I like to go from the back to the front. It doesn't really matter as long as they're all the same. So we're just going to put the stitch on the needle, essentially. Not knitting it or anything. And be careful you don't split your yarn. So we just go to every single cast on stitch. and we're going to pick up 1. So this is why it doesn't really matter where you begin at this part, because you're going to just be not knitting it, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so when you get kind of to this little corner here, it's kind of, mine has this kind of big leggy section, so I just actually like skip right through that because I don't want it to have a big gap, so I just go to the stitch underneath it. Okay, so then when we get to the back, we're actually going to be working on the ends of the rows from when we began the work, from where we cast on. These are all of our row ends from there. So we're going to actually want to just pick up 1 stitch for every other row in this section, because we're going to be working 2 rows for each stitch that we pick up. So that way it will lay nicely. So every other row end you come to, you're going to want to pick up a stitch on. And I just pick up a single loop. That makes the garment feel more seamless. If you pick up like this giant bulky stitch, like you can feel it a lot more. If you pick up a stitch like this, it feels much more seamless to me anyways, but I'm a little picky for seams. So, okay, so we're just going to pick up stitches, 2 or 1 for every 2 row ends here until we get back to the middle. And again, you can tell that by where your cast on yarn tail is. You should have it hanging off there. Okay, so we're just about there. I'm going to pick up just 1 extra. Okay, so then we stop. Okay, so now we have all of these held stitches, picked up stitches. I pull the needle down snug. So, okay, this is my main needle. This is going to be, I'm not sure yet what I'll call it in the pattern, just like the spare needle, the picked up stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to work a right side row. So this is going to be on the right lapel, right as if you're wearing it is the side that I'm showing in my demo. So you should be ready to work a right side row. My stitch count is less than what you guys will have. You'll have 15 right here when you begin. I've already worked a couple of rows, so I have less stitches than what you guys will have. So go ahead and knit to the end of the row. Okay, when you get to the end, we're going to have just 1 stitch left. We're going to stop right there. And then I take the stitch and I move it over onto this spare needle. And then we're going to knit these 2 stitches together. So that's going to consume 1 of the stitches that we have held that we picked up there, if you can see that. So we're going to just knit these 2 together through the back loop. I like it through the back loop because when I tried it through the front, it made this big old hole, and I don't like that. So that's what I did, but it doesn't really matter if you want to slip knit or knit through the front loops. That's fine as long as you do them all the same. Okay, so that just consumed 1 stitch. So that's how we're, kind of moving up the work. So then we're going to turn, purl to the end for our second row. Okay. All right, so that's one of the straight, the normal straight rows. And we just worked. So you should have the same amount of stitches by the end of this. You should have 15 stitches on your needle still. Okay, so I'm going to show you next the decrease row. So the decrease row, we just kind of want this little lapel to kind of just shave off a little bit by this side. So I'm going to do, so again, this is on the right yoke. On the other side, on the opposite lapel, it's going to be the left knit 2 together, or slip knit if you prefer. So on this side though, we're going to just knit 2 together normally, and that's just going to decrease us 1 stitch, and then we knit to the end. So essentially on every right side row, at the end of the row, you're going to be working it together with 1 stitch from the held stitches. Knit them together through the back loops, turn the work, and then just purl to the end. So we're going to just decrease along this little cuff until we have like 10 stitches. That's what I think I'm going to do. Obviously you can see I don't have the plan before I started, just kind of go while I go, but this sweater has actually turned out really cool. It's been kind of a pain in the butt to knit, but you know, it's turning out pretty nicely. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. This is gonna essentially just kind of follow around the curve of the sleeve, and then come around the curve of the back, and then we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. And then when the works meet in the center of the back here, you'll just graft it with the Kitchener stitch, and then you can go ahead and block your garment if you've already seamed the back. If you haven't, obviously you'll want to do that first. So yeah, that's it on this tutorial. So hopefully this helps you guys. It's really not too bad of a technique. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but you know, it's worth it to not have to sew a seam. And look at how elastic that is. Oh yeah, that's so good. So it's worth it. Yeah, okay, well, yes, that's all for today. I hope you guys like this sweater as much as I do.